When my human self presents to me many challenges that burden me, my heart center shines and calls to me. This is who I choose to be. Sometimes lessons.
Welcome to the Vibrational Alchemy Podcast. This is Penny Fisher, and we are so glad you are joining us for this week's episode. Hello, my beautiful souls. It is, as always, a tremendous gift to be here with you. I am so excited. I want to start with you this week an arc of what will probably end up being 4 or 5 episodes. We'll see how it rolls as we get into it. But this is, and I'll share how I stumbled onto this. But this, we're going to call this arc The Keys to the Kingdom. And in The Keys to the Kingdom, we're going to take a look at a variety of pathways or stages that will help us navigate this human experience and this ascension path that we're on. So I'll share how I got to it, but this is actually each of these stages are taken from a book called The Way of Mastery. It is a full-on channeled work. It's someone who channels Yeshua or Jesus. And I love this book. I've been making my way through the lessons in this book for, gosh, it's got to be coming on 2 years now. But in this book, this section, this lesson entitled The Keys to the Kingdom, comes near the very beginning of the book. And it is, I don't remember the lesson that it is, but it talks about a number of different stages. And the first one of these, I'll share that with you now. So this all kind of came to me as this download that honestly I was not looking for. I had the gift of being in a completely quiet house one morning. I had cleared the day to work on content, specifically this podcast series and class I'm teaching. And I sat down and I was all ready to go. And I realized I was empty, which is a really nice way of saying I had absolutely no flipping idea what to write about. Now, for those of you who know me, you know how utterly insane that sounds. I am never, ever without something to say or share about a book I've been reading or a post I saw or a conversation I had, right? I've always got something to say. But hand to God, on this morning, nothing. I was empty. And so I felt the contraction, the panic, right? And then I was like, no, this is just where I'm at. And I took a deep breath and I just went and I sat. And I just sat. And as I sat, I started to think about this idea of desire. I don't know where the thought came from. Maybe it came from the contraction that I had experienced because I deeply desired to have a topic to share with you all. And as I realized that that's what the contraction was, I was able to release it and just let it go. And in that moment, this idea about desire popped in, and the contraction came again. I paid attention to where the contraction was happening, and it was happening in my solar plexus, that section around the diaphragm area of the abdomen. And I thought that was really interesting. Why would desire cause contraction in my power center? Hmm. I wasn't sure about that. And then I started to notice that there were all these crazy thoughts racing through my head. And these were not the thoughts generated by the voice of love. These were not the thoughts generated by my divine I am presence or by my higher self. These were thoughts generated by my little ego trying to keep me safe. And this voice was telling me that when I desire something or grasp after it or really want something, it makes me a bad person. And I thought, ooh, there's a lot of conditioning around desire. And then I remembered that there had been this section in The Way of Mastery in this book about desire. And so I went and grabbed it, the book, and started reading. And of course, the right and perfect words popped out, which I think is so cool. I literally had not looked at content. Remember, this is early in the book. I literally have not looked at this content in close to 2 years, probably. So I want to start by sharing with you these words that popped out. And for those of you who like to know where I am in the edition of the book that I have, this is pages 46 and 47. Who among you has not felt conflicted about desire? Who among you has not been taught that desire is evil? Who among you has not been taught not to desire to be great? Who among you has not been taught that the desire for material comfort is some sort of blot on the spiritual path? Look well within your soul and see if this is not true. And as I was sitting, I heard my guides come through loud and clear and say, we need to explore this topic right now. We are at a critical point of evolution on this earth. And in this particular time, we are watching many, many people around us engage with desire in a way that is, or appears to be, out of alignment with the vibration of unconditional love. We are watching people who desire power over others, who desire systems and structures that will denigrate and subjugate people who are different than they are. People who desire to wield power and control with what appears to be a very singular focus on personal gain. Now, I want to be clear. I say appears to be and apparently because I can never truly know what's going on in someone else's heart. So I think it's time to deconstruct a little bit this idea about desire and to see if together, with some guidance from the Way of Mastery, we can shift our conditioning around desire. Because I don't know about you, but when I hear desire, I think of it as something to be avoided, to be quashed, to be squelched, right? I have noticed throughout my lifetime where I've really judged desire. And remember, when we judge something, we externalize the judgment that we have against ourselves, right? So for me, I judge desire within myself because it has to do with my feelings of self-worth. I don't deserve to have that which I desire, right? So one of my favorite examples was this idea when I would catch myself wanting like a really nice car, like a luxury car. And what I noticed I would start to do was I would pay attention to the luxury cars on the road, but I would, without consciously meaning to, I would look for information that confirmed the fact that desiring that would make me a bad person. So I would start to notice all the times that drivers of luxury cars would cut other people off, would drive too fast, would not seem to care about anyone else on the road, right? And as I started to do this inner work, I noticed that I was coming to my observation from a place of judgment. And I decided to just be curious. And what do you think I noticed? I noticed that these were my mental models, and because of that, that's what I was seeing. But when I released those mental models and went into the place of curiosity, I noticed that there were just as many kind, courteous, safe drivers driving luxury cars as any other kind of car. And conversely, there were just as many people working out their own issues on the road, driving cars that were not luxury cars. I share this with you because I think it's really important to start to notice the places where you are holding deeply held beliefs or mental models about desire, right? Another thing that I have noticed within myself about desire is that there's definitely conditioning that's happened, right? Part of that conditioning has been my own experience. So there have been times where I have had deep desires, have acted on them, and things have not gone well, right? What I had noticed as I started thinking about this to share this with you is that at every step of the way, I had the choice about whether or not to act on the desire. The desire was what it was. When I chose to act on it, in the places where it did not go well, right? Maybe where I chose to say something to someone because I was just so angry I had to let it come out. Or, oh, well, when I was younger and I really wanted that next drink and the next one and the next one, it was a desire. I was in control at every step of the way. I could have chosen differently. And what I noticed was this: when I chose to act on desires that had outcomes other than what I really wanted, my decision to act on the desire did not come from a place of self-love. In every instance that I have been able to think of in my own life, the choice to act came from an energy of self-judgment, of a lack of self-worth, and in some places, from self-destructive tendencies. So, of course, things didn't work out. I chose to act on those desires. I was setting myself up to punish myself. Do you see it? But what if, my darlings, we look at the energy of desire from another perspective. What if we look at desire through the lens of the creative force that brought the entire omniverse into reality? In the beginning was pure source energy, in whatever way you experience source. This unbridled, infinite energy of pure light, pure love, so vast that truly we can't comprehend it with our human minds. At some point, Source made a choice. Source had a desire and made a choice. Source desired to know itself. And it chose to act on that desire by extending itself. It sent the essence of its being through what my guides call the prism of creation. And its pure light of love became refracted, and we can spin it out from there. That's another episode. My point here is that this was a choice on the part of Source. Source chose to extend itself so it could know itself. Do you see it? We exist. Our world exists. This universe and every other universe exist because of desire. Source, having desire and choosing to act on it, actually brought everything into being. And in the way of mastery, we're told this, and again, this is pages 45 and 46. If Source had not desired to extend love, you would never have come into existence. Your very sense of awareness of self is the result, the effect of love. The very same love that has birthed the sun and the moon and all of the stars and every dimension upon dimension upon dimension of creation. And this is emphasized in the text. The very love that desired for that love to be extended is the source from which you have been birthed. And as you know yourself to be, you are the effect of Source's desire to extend love. Be still, my heart. If the source of all creation can experience desire, and it's good, then why shouldn't you experience desire as something good? And here's the thing, my darlings. Perhaps we need to give ourselves permission to stop thinking about desire as something we have to be afraid of. Fear leads us to control or try to control our desires. And that fear, because it causes contraction, and we've talked before about fear being like a kink in the hose. And what flows through the hose is unconditional love. And it not only flows to us from Source, but it flows from us back to Source. It's our connection. It's our umbilical cord. Fear puts a kink in that hose and stops the flow of energy. It stops the flow of unconditional love that allows us to deeply love and accept ourselves without reservation. I'm going to go back to the way of mastery because they say it way better than I could. And I've grabbed this from 2 pages, part from 47 and part from 61. It's a little long, but stay with me. Come then to see that desire is not evil. It is not to be feared. It is to be mastered. And check this out. Mastery is not control. For control and the need to control are an effect of the energy of fear and not love. Mastery of desire comes when you recognize that you are safe to feel whatever wave of desire might come up through your consciousness, because you decide whether or not you will act on it, whether you will bring it into the field of manifestation. For when you hold desire within your beingness, and when you've moved through the process of coming to master the energy of desire, and again, mastery does not mean control. When you have mastered the energy of desire, by grounding it always in the desire to be as you are created to be, then indeed all of your life and all of the subsequent or subsidiary desires will come to serve that grand desire. And there it is. When all of our desire comes from the place of us wanting to walk this path of ascension, to bring heaven to earth by remembering who we truly are, it can't be bad. When it comes from that depth of unconditional love for ourselves, then desire is a good thing. It helps us to look in the mirror, to see the light that shines from within, our beautiful and perfect hearts. It reminds us that we are not only worthy of this love, but that it is our birthright. Think about that, my sweeties. If you are of Source, and Source is pure love, then are you not pure love? And for sure, we've forgotten some things. We've contracted to repay some karma or learn some lessons in this lifetime, for sure. Human experience can be tough. It is not all rainbows and unicorns. It's just not. But the more that we acknowledge and remind ourselves, even when we have to do it through gritted teeth, or we have to do it from a place of not really believing it, but the more we remind ourselves that this is who we are, the more we become aware of when our desire is in alignment with self-love, or when, like it has been for me so many times in my life, it is in alignment with fear. And remember, fear is just anything that is not love. So anytime I thought I was not worthy, or I felt shameful or guilty or angry at myself, and I thought I deserved to be punished, those were the places where my desires were not in alignment with who I am, remembering my way back to being. Right? And listen, we said the human experience, it can be tricky. And the ego can kind of hijack and lead us into a place that is not in alignment with love. And it's okay. Think about it as a period of practice, right? I am a firm believer that there are no tests. There are just opportunities for us to practice, right? And again, I'm going to go back to the book because this is just so beautiful. You have learned to fear desire because that fear is the effect of fearing yourself. And that is what cripples you. An unwillingness to trust oneself, an unwillingness to love oneself, and the belief that the desires that move up through your beingness are something evil and dark. And they are not, my sweeties. They are not. Notice your desires. Do they lead you to pure joy? Even if the rest of the world says you shouldn't do something, just be in your space and start to notice. And I'd like to share a practice with you. And this is something you can just listen to. I'm going to walk you through it, but we're not going to actually do it together. But this is something that you can start to play with. I'm telling you, it's profoundly amazing. So this practice comes from the way of the heart, and it's going to support you in starting to notice where you hold judgment around this energy of desire and how you can release it, right? And as always, it involves dropping into this open-hearted curiosity, this mindset that doesn't hold any preconceived notions, or if it does, it notices them and says, oh, here you are again, judgment. You know what? You just go sit over there. I just want to check this out for a minute. Okay. All right. So I want to talk a little bit about this practice. As always, start by sitting very quietly. And if you can do this at the very beginning and or the very end of your day, and if you can do this for 7 days in a row, you'll really get some traction on this. You only need about 10 minutes or so a day and someplace quiet. You'll need a paper and a pencil or journal, something, just something to write in, okay? And you want to start by sitting very quietly and just let everything go and ask, what do I truly want? And then just jot it down. Don't judge it. Don't filter it. Don't second guess it. Just write it, whatever it is. Remember, energy is value neutral. So there is nothing on that page that is good or bad, that is right or wrong, and nobody has to see it. Okay, so you're going to write this down. Now, you're going to take a deep breath and exhale and relax and ask yourself again, what do I truly want? Maybe draw a line under the first one and then write again. Again, write without filter, write without thought, write without judgment. And repeat this process 6 to 7 times, taking a minute between each of those iterations to release, to breathe, to relax, and ask yourself again. Okay, got it? You've got this page, maybe 2 pages, where you've written what you desire in any given moment. And then just close the book or set the paper aside and go about your day. Repeat this exact same exercise for 7 days. And then, and only then, look back at what you've written. My guess is that you will most likely begin to see some patterns. Most interestingly, I think that you will see that some desires fade away over time. That new pair of shoes that I really desired on Monday when I started this, by Sunday, they're just not as important. Craving for ice cream. Oh, my Achilles heel. My craving for ice cream might be super strong on days 1, 2, and 3, especially if I'm doing this in the evenings. But by the time I get to day 4, without having acted on any of those desires, might be that I'm remembering that having that ice cream makes me feel kind of crummy and I really don't want it as much. Drop into your heart as you read the 7 days worth of jotting and notice what makes your heart contract and what makes your heart expand. And then sit and offer this decree. I'll say it and you can say it with me. I'll leave some spaces so that you can either repeat with me or jot it down. Okay? I command that everything that is unlike love be released from me now. I embrace the energy of desire that will lead me along the pathway back to my true self. I release all identity with smallness. I relinquish the need for approval from others. I step now into the truth of who I am. And I embrace the desires within that reflect that truth. And it is so. And I promise you that if you do this exercise, you will begin to notice where you are holding the energy of judgment toward your desires and by extension toward yourself. You will notice when your desires are in alignment with self-love or where they hold the vibration of fear and contraction. Because what you're afraid of is your own inner light. You will be able to connect with this space of childlike wonder and curiosity again. And you can bring that into all places in your life. From that space, because when we are curious and open-hearted, our energy flows and you will be able to connect with source energy in whatever way you experience it so much more deeply. And you will open even more. And as that energy of love and compassion and joy and curiosity and wonder become your new normal, you will be able to move through your life with more balance and ease. You will be able to connect with the energy of desire, the desire to remember who you are, the desire to know yourself as an aspect of God, source, creator, creatrix, all that is, and to walk in the world that way. Seeing yourself every minute of every day, the way that source energy sees you. Divine, perfect, a being of love and light. Next week, we're going to look at intention. Intention and desire kind of go together, so we'll see how that one flows. I am, as always, so grateful to each one of you for spending time with me. I am Penny Starhart. This has been the Vibrational Alchemy Podcast. Until we are together again, remember always that you are loved and you are love.
This is who